Yeah, 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 yeah. One check, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Final countdown, no time to breathe. Get your mind ready, your rhymes better be on to the teeth to be defeated by he, the one they call the GOAT. Checkmate.
In a league of giants, where the average height exceeds 6 feet 6 inches, one man stood just 5 feet 9 inches. Yet he towered over expectations, defying physics, critics, and the very nature of the game. He's just too small to make an impact at the NBA level. But in the 2016-17 season, this supposedly too small player averaged 28.9 points per game, led the Boston Celtics to the Eastern Conference Finals, and finished 5th in MVP voting. His name is Isaiah Thomas, the NBA's ultimate underdog, the last pick in the draft who rose to become an All-NBA talent. But Isaiah's story isn't just about basketball. It's about perseverance through unimaginable tragedy. It's about playing through physical and emotional pain that would break most people. It's about being knocked down repeatedly and getting back up every single time. This is the journey of the shortest superstar who shook the league, a testament to the power of heart over height, of will over limitation, and of the unquenchable human spirit that refuses to be measured by anything other than the size of its determination. Tacoma, Washington, February 7, 1989. James Thomas and Tina Baldtrip welcome their son into the world and name him after one of basketball's greats, Detroit Pistons legend Isaiah Thomas. The spelling was different, but the expectations were planted from day one. From his earliest days, Isaiah was the smallest player on every court. But what he lacked in height, he made up for in speed, skill, and an unwavering confidence that bordered on defiance. My father always told me, play like you're 6 feet 10 inches. Nobody can see your heart. They can only see your height. By age 15, Isaiah was taking on grown men in Tacoma's competitive street games. Always the smallest. Always the one with the most to prove. This crucible forged his fearless style of play, darting between defenders, absorbing contact, and finishing through forests of outstretched arms. At Curtis High School, Isaiah averaged 31.2 points per game as a senior. He led his team to a state championship appearance and earned Washington State Player of the Year honors. But despite his dominance, major college programs remained skeptical. The question followed him like a shadow: was he simply too small? Isaiah played with this chip on his shoulder from day one. Every time someone said he was too small, it was like adding fuel to a fire that was already burning hot. Lorenzo Romar and the University of Washington were willing to look beyond the measuring tape. They offered Isaiah a scholarship, keeping him close to home and giving him a chance to prove himself on a bigger stage. At Washington, Isaiah quickly became a fan favorite, the 5 feet 9 inches freshman who played with the fearlessness of a giant. He averaged 15.5 points in his first season, but it wasn't just his scoring that stood out, it was his clutch gene. Thomas, for the win. Yes, Isaiah Thomas delivers in the clutch for the Huskies. Over 3 seasons at Washington, Isaiah developed into one of the Pac-10's most electrifying players. He averaged 16.4 points and 4.0 assists per game, earning all Pac-10 honors and leading the Huskies to 3 consecutive NCAA tournament appearances. Isaiah's college career culminated in a moment that would foreshadow his professional journey. In the 2011 Pac-10 tournament championship game against Arizona, Thomas hit a step-back jumper at the buzzer in overtime, sealing Washington's conference title. Thomas stepped back, cold-blooded. That moment encapsulated everything about Isaiah. When the pressure was highest, when the moment was biggest, he wanted the ball, and he delivered. People keep saying I'm too small, but heart doesn't have a height requirement. After 3 stellar seasons, Isaiah declared for the NBA draft. The decision was risky. Undersized guards without elite athleticism rarely succeeded at the professional level. But Thomas had spent his entire life defying expectations. I know I can play at the next level. I just need one team to believe in me. June 23, 2011. The NBA draft. As name after name was called, Isaiah Thomas sat waiting. First round complete. No call. As the second round neared its end, the possibility of going undrafted became very real. The concerns about Thomas are obvious. At 5 feet 9 inches, he'll be one of the shortest players in the league. Can he defend? Can he finish at the rim against NBA length? Finally, with the 60th and final pick of the draft, the Sacramento Kings selected Isaiah Thomas. Mr. Irrelevant, the last player chosen. For most, being the final pick would be a disappointment. For Isaiah, it was just more fuel. I'm going to make the other 29 teams pay for passing on me. They'll remember my name. Thomas didn't just make the Kings roster. He forced his way into the rotation through sheer will and production. By mid-season of his rookie year, he was starting games and proving that his size was an advantage, not a limitation. His low center of gravity made him nearly impossible to stay in front of, and his fearless drives to the basket became his signature. We couldn't believe this rookie, this last pick in the draft, was coming in and taking over games. He played with a confidence you just can't teach. In 3 seasons with the Kings, Isaiah's scoring average climbed from 11.5 to 20.3 points per game. He developed into one of the league's most efficient pick-and-roll guards, using his quickness to create space and his extraordinary body control to finish in traffic. Despite his production, the Kings traded Thomas to the Phoenix Suns in July 2014, signing and trading him for a minimal return, a move they would soon regret. The Kings giving away Isaiah Thomas for practically nothing might go down as one of the worst moves in franchise history. In Phoenix, Thomas found himself in a crowded backcourt with Goran Dragic and Eric Bledsoe. The three-headed guard experiment had mixed results, and by February 2015, the Suns had seen enough. Thomas was traded again, this time to the Boston Celtics. I feel like I'm just getting passed around like I didn't average 20 in this league. Like I'm not an efficient player. It fuels me. It's like, how many times do I have to prove myself? Little did anyone know, the trade to Boston would be the beginning of the most magical chapter in Isaiah Thomas's career, and eventually, its most heartbreaking. Boston, a city with 17 NBA championships. A franchise defined by legends Russell, Cousy, Havlicek, Bird, Pierce. In February 2015, the unlikeliest of heroes arrived to write his own chapter in Celtics lore. From his first game in green, something clicked. Thomas averaged 19 points and 5.4 assists to close out the 2014-15 season, helping the Celtics make a surprising playoff push, but it was just the beginning. Isaiah brought an energy, a confidence that was contagious. He wasn't afraid of the moment. In fact, he craved it. In his first full season with Boston, Isaiah became an all-star, averaging 22.2 points per game. But his true ascension was still to come. The 2016-17 season, Isaiah Thomas transformed from very good to transcendent. He averaged 28.9 points per game, the third highest mark in Celtics history behind Larry Bird and Paul Pierce. But it was his fourth-quarter heroics that earned him a new nickname, the King in the Fourth. Thomas averaged an NBA-best 9.8 points in the fourth quarter, the highest mark since such statistics began being tracked. Time after time, when the game was on the line, the ball went to the smallest man on the court. And time after time, he delivered. The crowd would literally start chanting MVP when he had the ball in the fourth quarter. This 5 feet 9 inches guy had 18,000 people believing he could do anything. What made Thomas special wasn't just his scoring, it was how he scored, using his low center of gravity to create space, mastering the art of finishing with either hand, developing a deadly pull-up jumper that made him unguardable in pick-and-roll situations. Isaiah's game was about angles and timing. He understood how to use his size as an advantage. Bigger defenders couldn't get low enough to stay in front of him. He'd be by them before they could shift their weight. Beyond his individual brilliance, Isaiah made the Celtics better. With him leading the way, Boston secured the Eastern Conference's top seed with 53 wins. Thomas earned All-NBA second-team honors and finished 5th in MVP voting, unprecedented achievements for a player his size. I play every game like it's my last. April 15, 2017. One day before the Boston Celtics were set to begin their playoff run against the Chicago Bulls, Isaiah Thomas received the phone call that would forever change his life. China Thomas, Isaiah's 22-year-old sister, had been killed in a single-car accident in their home state of Washington. She had fallen asleep at the wheel in the early morning hours, and her car veered off Interstate 5. We all found out and nobody knew what to say. How do you even process something like that? And then to have Game 1 the next day. In the face of unimaginable grief, Isaiah made a decision that would come to define his legacy beyond statistics or accolades. He chose to play. It's unfathomable the emotions he was dealing with. Basketball was probably the furthest thing from his mind, but he said his sister would have wanted him to play. Before tip-off, Thomas sat on the bench, tears streaming down his face. His grief laid bare before 18,000 fans and millions watching at home. On his shoes, handwritten in marker, "R.I.P. Lil Sis, I love you," and "China." What followed was one of the most emotionally powerful performances in NBA playoff history. Thomas scored 33 points, his tear-stained face a testament to the emotional weight he carried with every dribble, every shot. We weren't even sure if he'd make it through warm-ups. Then he goes out and scores 33. I still don't know how he did it. Between games 1 and 2, Thomas flew across the country to be with his family, then returned to Boston. The series shifted to Chicago for games 3 and 4, where Thomas continued to play through his grief. Basketball, when I'm on the court, it just just keeps me going. I do everything for my sister now, and that's all I can do." As if emotional pain wasn't enough, physical pain soon followed. In Game 1 of the second round against the Washington Wizards, Thomas lost a tooth after taking an elbow to the face. He didn't miss a beat, scoring 33 points. Thomas drives, scores, and loses a tooth. He's picking it up off the court. Between Games 1 and 2, Thomas underwent 9 hours of dental surgery. Doctors inserted temporary replacements and addressed the structural damage to his mouth. Most players would sit out. Thomas not only played in Game 2, he delivered one of the greatest playoff performances in Celtics history. May 2, 2017. On what would have been his sister China's 23rd birthday, Isaiah Thomas scored 53 points, including 29 in the fourth quarter and overtime, leading Boston to a crucial victory. Thomas, again. That's 53 points on what would have been his sister's birthday. This is the stuff of legends. The performance transcended sport. It wasn't just about basketball anymore. It was about the human spirit's capacity to find strength in the darkest moments. My sister wouldn't want me to stop. The only thing about it is, once I leave this gym, I hit reality and she's not here. That's the tough part. But when I'm in this arena, I can just go out there and be free. The Celtics defeated Washington in 7 games to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals against LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. But for Thomas, another physical challenge was emerging, one that would ultimately alter the trajectory of his career. Unknown to most fans, Isaiah Thomas had been dealing with a hip injury since March. The medical diagnosis, a right femoral acetabular impingement with a labral tear. In layman's terms, his hip joint was damaged, causing excruciating pain with every movement. This type of injury affects everything: cutting, jumping, stopping, starting. For a player whose game is built on quickness and change of direction, it's particularly debilitating. Thomas had been receiving pain-killing injections before games just to stay on the court. Each explosive drive to the basket, each hard landing after a jump, all excruciating. Yet he played on, through personal tragedy and physical agony. He'd come in for treatment before games, literally unable to put weight on his leg, then somehow go out and score 25-30 points. The pain tolerance was unlike anything I've seen. In Game 2 against Cleveland, the limitations became impossible to ignore. Thomas shot just 2 of 15 from the field. His explosiveness was gone. The injury had finally become too severe to play through. Before Game 3, the Celtics announced that Thomas would miss the remainder of the playoffs. His season, the greatest of his career, was over. Boston would go on to lose the series in 5 games. Isaiah has given us everything he has. If he could be out there, he would be out there. That's just who he is. As the 2017 offseason began, Thomas faced uncertainty on multiple fronts. His hip required major rehabilitation, possibly surgery, and he was entering the final year of his contract, a contract that drastically underpaid him relative to his production. Isaiah was looking at potentially a max contract worth over $150 million. After what he'd given to Boston, playing through injury and personal tragedy, most assumed the Celtics would reward him. August 22, 2017. The news shocked the basketball world. Boston traded Isaiah Thomas, along with Jay Crowder, Andy Zizic, and draft picks, to the Cleveland Cavaliers for Kyrie Irving. In a stunning move, the Celtics have traded Isaiah Thomas to Cleveland. For Thomas, the trade felt like the ultimate betrayal. After everything he had given to Boston, playing through injury, playing through grief, he was cast aside. I gave everything I had for that organization. I played through injury. I played the day after my sister died, and they just traded me like it was nothing. In Cleveland, Thomas's hip rehabilitation took longer than expected. He didn't make his Cavaliers debut until January 2018. And when he did return, it was clear something was missing. He just wasn't the same player. The explosiveness, the ability to change direction, the things that made Isaiah special, they were compromised by the injury. After just 15 games with Cleveland, averaging 14.7 points on 36% shooting, Thomas was traded again, this time to the Los Angeles Lakers. For the former All-NBA performer, it was another crushing blow. What followed was a basketball odyssey. The Lakers, the Denver Nuggets, the Washington Wizards, the New Orleans Pelicans, the Dallas Mavericks. Brief stints, 10-day contracts, G-League assignments. The player who once commanded MVP chance was now fighting just to stay in the league. They can't kill my spirit. I've been through too much. This just makes the comeback even better. By 2022, many players would have accepted defeat. Not Isaiah Thomas. Each morning, he was in the gym before sunrise, rebuilding his body, refining his game, still believing when few others did. I just need one opportunity. That's it. In December 2021, Thomas joined the Denver Nuggets G League affiliate, the Grand Rapids Gold. In his debut, he scored 42 points. The message was clear. Isaiah Thomas wasn't done yet. His work ethic was incredible. Here's a guy who was an All-NBA player, and he's riding buses in the G League, not complaining, just working. That says everything about his character. The performance earned Thomas a 10-day contract with the Lakers, then another brief stint with the Dallas Mavericks. Short opportunities, but each one represented what Thomas had been fighting for, a chance to prove he still belonged. In early 2022, Thomas represented Team USA in FIBA World Cup qualifying games, averaging 21 points per contest and reminding basketball fans of his scoring prowess. But NBA opportunities remained scarce. The NBA has become increasingly unkind to smaller guards, especially ones with injury histories. Teams prioritize length and defensive versatility, but what they can't measure is heart, and that's where Isaiah has always excelled. Through it all, Thomas maintained an unwavering belief in himself. His social media became a chronicle of resilience, workout videos, motivational messages, and the constant refrain, "The marathon continues. They wrote me off. I ain't right back though." In March 2022, the Charlotte Hornets signed Thomas for the remainder of the season. In one game against the Pelicans, he scored 12 points in just 13 minutes, reminding everyone of the scoring punch he could still provide. His positivity was infectious. After everything he'd been through, you'd expect some bitterness, but he was just grateful for the opportunity, teaching younger guys, being a true professional. The basketball journey continued. More short contracts, more teams, more proving grounds. In early 2025, at age 36, Thomas joined the Utah Jazz's G League affiliate, the Salt Lake City Stars, still chasing the dream that had defined his life. People ask why I keep going. Why not just retire? But that's not who I am. I love this game. It's given me everything, and I still believe I can contribute at the highest level. Numbers tell part of Isaiah Thomas's story. 12.2 points per game career average, two-time All-Star, All-NBA second team, fifth in MVP voting, the last pick in the draft who defied astronomical odds. When coaches tell me I'm too small, I just point to Isaiah Thomas. He showed us that height doesn't define your impact, but Thomas's true legacy transcends statistics. He became a symbol of resilience, a living testament to the power of self-belief in the face of constant doubt. Isaiah was ahead of his time. The way he used the pick and roll, his mastery of the hesitation dribble, his fearlessness attacking the rim, these are all elements we see in today's game. He helped prove that smaller guards could not just survive but thrive in the NBA. Off the court, Thomas has given back, particularly to communities in his native Washington state. His basketball camps emphasized not just skills but perseverance, the quality that defined his own journey. He told us that nobody can put limitations on your dreams. If you work hard enough and believe in yourself, you can prove everybody wrong. Through triumph and tragedy, Isaiah's family has remained his foundation. His two sons, James and Jaden, have watched their father's relentless pursuit of his passion, an example of perseverance that transcends sport. I want my children to know that life will knock you down. It's guaranteed. But how you respond to those challenges, that's what defines you. For a brief, magical moment, Isaiah Thomas wasn't just competing in a league of giants. He was standing toe-to-toe with them, outscoring them, outworking them, proving that heart isn't measured in feet and inches. His impact on the game is bigger than most 7-footers. That's the irony. The smallest guy on the court had one of the biggest impacts on how the game is played today. The Isaiah Thomas story isn't finished. At 36, he continues to chase his basketball dreams with the same passion that drove him as a child on the playgrounds of Tacoma. His journey remains a blueprint for anyone who has been told no, anyone who has been deemed too small or not enough. My whole life has been about proving people wrong. Too small to play high school ball, too small for college, too small for the NBA, too small to be an all-star. I've heard it all, but here I am, still standing, still fighting, and I'm not done yet. In a world obsessed with measurables, height, wingspan, vertical leap, Isaiah Thomas reminds us of the immeasurable, heart, courage, resilience. From Mr. Irrelevant to the King in the Fourth, from the last pick to an All-NBA performer, from tragedy to triumph and back again. Isaiah Thomas wasn't supposed to be here, but he is. And in a league of giants, this 5 feet 9 inches guard showed us all what it means to stand tall. This has been the shortest superstar who shook the league. For more stories of resilience and triumph, subscribe to Fynk, because the greatest comebacks are still being written.